Hey guys, how's it going? So today I wanted to bring another tutorial. It's been quite a while, so I decided to do something a little different. We're going to look into some trap. So yeah, I'm just going to play this little section right here and we'll get right into it. Alright, so the first section I want to show you guys is the drum and sub sections, so I'm just going to play it for you real quick and we'll get right into it. Alright, and yeah, that just repeats for the next 8 bars. So first we'll have a look at the drums alone. On the group, we have an EQ, which is cutting off all the frequencies below 30 Hertz. This is just getting rid of some unwanted bass frequencies. And also, we have it high pass just a little bit, again, getting rid of really high unneeded frequencies. Then the other two effects on the channel are the limiter and the glue compressor. And basically what these are doing in trap, everything is really compressed. If you look at SoundCloud waveforms of trap songs, they just look like bricks. They're super flat, and this is all it's doing. The limiter is just setting a ceiling of -3 decibels, and the glue compressor is making sure everything is even and at the same volume, basically. And I just increased the attack to as fast as it could go, the release in the middle, and then the ratio as high as it could go. Alright, so to start, we'll get into my kick drum. If you've seen my other tutorials, this is the exact same kick drum I always use. No processing really needed on it alone. It sounds like this. Yeah, nothing really special. Now the next 4 samples are actually what makes up my snare, and altogether they sound like this. Alright, so the first sample is just a super basic snare. You can find it in just about any sample pack. And it's EQ'd, cutting off the low end. Alone sounds like this. And then the second sample that's layered on top of it is this really weird sounding snare. Again, low cut, and it sounds like this. Right, and the next sample is actually a reverse clap, and this just helps build up to the snare, and so does the sample after it. This one is delayed 54 milliseconds though, and again, low cut, and alone sounds like this. Alright, and then the last sample is from freesound.org. I just found a sample of some guy shaking a bunch of nails in a jar, and this is what it sounded like. Yeah, and I just cut off the low frequencies and some of the mids. And yeah, so that's it for my snare. The next sample I have is my hi-hat, and alone it sounds like this. Yep, and just repeats again. And basically all I have on this is an EQ cutting off almost all the low and mids and just leaving the highs because, I mean, there was nothing else that really needed to be in there. You can still hear it just fine. It sounds just as good. Then I just have these 2 sidechain compressors, one to my kick and one to my snare. and the ratio is turned all the way up because there's so many elements going on in this song. I really wanted my kick and snare to be heard. So on everything except for the kick and snare, basically, we have these sidechain compressors to make sure you can hear them. The next section is just these bongos that I sampled or resampled from Contact, and alone they sound like this. Yeah, and basically all I have on it is my two side chains, an EQ cutting off the low and mid, and then I have this glue compressor on here because, as you can see, the waveform is a little crazy. Well, not crazy, but the volume of each bongo hit is at different levels, so I just wanted to make sure everything was also even on that. And yeah, so the next one is a crash cymbal, and all I have on it is an EQ cutting off the low and mid and taking down some of the highs, and two sidechain compressors, and it sounds like this. So yeah, that's that. Now these last 5 samples are actually just drums from the beginning filler part, and soloed out together they sound like this. Yep, and so the first sample on it is just this kick drum I sampled from like a YouTube video or something. Some dude playing the drums, and it sounds like this alone, and like this. And I just have this EQ cutting off some of the low end because it was really just subby and filled with that, and also taking down some of the mids and then boosting the highs. The next sample I have is just 2 hi-hat hits. Sounds like this and like this. Super basic, again, cutting off the mid and low frequencies. The next one is just this rim shot right here, and alone it sounds like this. And again, taking off the lows, taking out the mids. Then I also layered it with this random snare sample just to make it a little more punchy, and alone that sounds like this, and like this. Again, low cut. And lastly, I have a reverse cymbal, reverse crash cymbal, and it sounds like this. Yeah, and that just repeats throughout. That's it for my drums. Now I'm going to show you the sub. These are just the exact same patch and everything. They have all the same effects. The only difference is this is a pitchfall sub, and it kind of messed with my other sub and would change the pitch sometimes, so I just decided to duplicate it. But anyways, let's get into the patch. It's super simple. All it is a sine wave turned a little bit towards the square side. You can find it right here. And yeah, that's literally it for the patch. Then I have my 2 sidechain compressors and my EQ cutting off a lot of the high end and also taking off some of that 30 hertz frequency below. Yeah, again, just not needed frequencies. And then I also have a glue compressor. Since the note changes, sometimes the notes sound more impactful than other ones, so I just wanted to make sure for sure that they were all at the same level. Then on this one, all I did was copy the same patch, go into the oscillators tab, turn the pitch bend up 12 semitones, and then I went into this envelope tab, went to MIDI control, and then pitch bend. And yeah, I just drew in this little automation. So yeah, that looks like it's it for the drum and subsection. Alright, so the next section we're going to have a look at is the synths and effects. I just decided to put them all in one group. Soloed out, they sound like this. Alright, so first we're going to look at the group as a whole. I just have on two sidechain compressors, one for my kick and one for my snare, and also another glue compressor, again to flatten out everything, make sure the levels are all even. And then I also have the group running into a return channel, which is just this reverb. And the reason I do that is so I don't have to put a reverb on everything and it doesn't weaken the sounds at all. All I have on this reverb is I low cut it, turn the quality to high, increase the decay time to 3.62, and turn the drive wet all the way up. And that's literally it for the group as a whole. Now we're going to look at the main sound in the song. It's just a serum patch with two saw waves, one boosted 16 unison and detuned, and then it's also being FM'd from oscillator B, again just is a saw wave. Then in envelope 1 we increased the attack a little bit and also the decay and release to make sure that it sounded more glidey, didn't immediately come in and hurt your ears. Yeah. So we also turned the pitch bend up 3 semitones, and you'll see why later. Then in the effects tab we have some distortion. We just turned it to the down sample right here, and then put a little bit in the mix and turned the drive up just a little bit. And then we also have this compressor where we just turned on multiband, and it kind of acts like an OTT filter, or I mean OTT compressor in Ableton. Alright, so now we're gonna listen to the sound without all the effects on it, because these are all very important to how the sound is developed. So alone, it sounds like this. As you can see, it doesn't sound as big or as full, and with the help of all these effects we can get it there. So first we have a vocoder where I just kind of drew in these parameters with this little pencil tool. Then I turned up the formant and then turned down the dry wet just a little bit, and it adds a little bit of distortion to it, so the sound now sounds like this. Alright, and then I have this reverb here where I automated the dry wet, and basically it just gives this weird pumping sound to it, makes it sound like it's filling up every time it hits. And yeah, I just turned it up to 76%, that's all I really did with the reverb, and it sounds like this. Next I have a utility, and this just increases the stereo width a few times during the track, and with that it sounds like this. Not a huge difference, but it still sounds nice. Then we have this frequency shifter where the frequency is going up and down in a few different places, and it gives kind of this build up and tape stop effect. So like right here and right here, goes up then back down. Sounds like this. Alright, next we have this beat repeat where the repeat is just turned on in a few different sections, like right here. And again, just adding another layer of depth to the lead. Then we have this EQ where the low end is cut off and there are a few dips in the mid and mid-high frequencies. That was just kind of to clean up the sound, make it sound a little nicer. And then lastly, we have this glue compressor, again, just to even out the sound, make all the volume the same. We also automated the panning of the track, so in a few different places it goes left and then right. And yeah, we'll have a look at the MIDI clip now, because when you go into the envelope tab, you see the pitch bend is just going straight down, and that's just repeated constantly throughout. And yeah, you can have a look at the MIDI clip here. It's just 3 different octaves of E, nothing really special. And then in the second half of the drop, I added a few more notes, like right there. Yeah, so that is literally all I did for the lead sound. I'm going to freeze it again. Alright, the next section we have here is just this reverb dragged into an audio clip and then reversed, and alone it sounds like this. And it just gives a cool little build up to the lead sound, and all that's on it is this auto pan. So yeah. The next few tracks are actually the vocal tracks, and we'll have a look at all these. So this is the main one, and I just took this from some random rap song on YouTube and detuned it a little bit and then threw a bunch of effects on it. So when we turn off all the effects and the EQ, the vocal sounds like this. As you can see, it kind of sounds terrible. We also changed the track panning on here too, left to right for that build-up part. But, so first we added this vocoder, which if you scroll down in your audio effects tab, go to vocoder, it's right here, and I just turned down the dry wet a little bit. That's all there is to that. It sounds like this now. Yeah, nothing crazy. But then I turned on the OTT compressor, which, again, if you didn't know, under multiband, OTT, right there. And now it sounds like this. Definitely a lot better. Alright, and then we have this simple delay, which is really interesting. I turned them both to time. I turned one part to 1 millisecond and then another to 10.3, and it gives this weird distortion for some reason. I don't know, it's not very noticeable, but I think it sounds nice. Sounds like that. And then lastly we have the EQ, where I cut off the low end, dipped a little bit in the mid-lows, and then boosted the high a lot, and that kind of finishes off the sound to make it sound like this. Yeah, so that's how I did the main vocal. Then I have these two that are build-ups. The difference being is that, well, we just copy and pasted it, and then this one has pitch bend up 6 semitones, and that leads into the second part of the drop where I changed a few things. It sounds like this. And yeah, it just has all the same effects as the original vocal. Then there's this one, which is just my normal build-up. It sounds like this. And yeah, nothing on here. Then lastly we have this little background vocal playing with the lead, and it just adds another layer of things to hear, kind of filling up some empty space. And it sounds like this. Then in the second half of the drop, I actually consolidated them, pitched them up 6 semitones, and made them double speed, so it sounds like this. And then it goes back to the original speed. And So that's what I did for those vocals. These last few things, this is just one more vocal at the very beginning. Sounds like this. Super cheesy hip-hop vocal sample. But yeah, I just EQ'd it, took off the low and mid end, and a little bit of low mid. That's all that is. Then this sample is also from freesound.org, great website again, where I just found a tornado siren, and alone it sounds like this. Yeah, and then all we have on it is an auto pan and an EQ, just to automatically pan it from left to right a little bit. And then lastly we have this reverse trap horn thing, and that just again adds to the build to the main sound, and it sounds like this. Yep. So that is it for this track, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. So thanks for watching, you guys. Sorry it's been a while. I just moved into my new house, got my room and everything set up, but new stuff should be coming out soon. I'm planning on trying to upload every 2 weeks, either with a song or a tutorial, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.